Hey guys, this is Andrew with rockclass101.com, and in this week's ukulele lesson, Chris is going to be teaching you a very cool traditional tune called Bury Me Beneath the Willow. Now, what makes this piece so much fun to learn is that it is played using clawhammer technique. Now, if you have no idea what that is or you've never learned how to do it, no worries. We have a full-length course that Christopher taught, which you can check out right here. I'll also link it in the description box below. I'd highly encourage you to go through that course before jumping into learning this tune because it's going to set you up for success. It'll teach you how to do that playing style, which is inherently different from any other playing style you've probably done before. It is a really unique playing style, but super cool and great to learn, especially if you love bluegrass tunes. So let's take a step back though, and let's talk a little bit about this lesson. So with this arrangement, we wanted to present it as a stripped down band version. So we have the ukulele part, which is actually played on banjolele. Now, no worries, if you don't have a banjolele, you can still play it on a regular acoustic reentrant tuned ukulele. But there's also bass and, of course, Ashley's incredible vocal performance. So if you don't sing, again, no worries, because we are making backing tracks. So once you learn the ukulele part, you'll be able to play along with the band at home. But we'll talk about that more in a second. Let's talk about the ukulele part. In this video, Christopher is going to be teaching you how to play the entire tune. But if you want to get the tabs to print off and follow along with, that's going to be available at this link right here. Or you can go to the site, rockclass101.com, do a search for Bury Me Beneath the Willow. And last but not least, on that page will be the really cool interactive on-screen tab viewer. Now this is a great feature where you can hit play, watch the tab scroll across in real time, highlight bars to loop sections, slow it down to any speed you wish, just a great asset in learning this tune that much easier. Now earlier I mentioned the backing tracks. So we're going to have two backing tracks, one at 100% speed, one at 75% speed. The backing track will have just the bass and Ashley's vocal on it. So again, if you don't sing, no worries. You can still play this song with the band at home. So guys, I'm going to go ahead and hand it off now to Christopher to teach you how to play this, and then I'll catch you at the end of the video.
Hello friends, this is Christopher Davis-Shannon with Rock Class 101, and today I'm going to show you how to play a clawhammer arrangement of the old traditional tune, Bury Me Beneath the Willow. Now, if you're new to clawhammer, Rock Class has a great course on playing clawhammer, but the basics are, if you're looking at the tab, that everything that's on the G string, we're going to be playing with our thumb. Everything else is going to be with the back of a fingernail, so it will sound like this. This is our basic clawhammer stroke. Now, you'll note that I'm playing a banjolele. You can absolutely do this on a regular wood uke as well, but you will need to play a high G for this to sound correct. So let's look at the introduction of the song. This song is in the key of G major and only uses 3 chords. We have G, D7, and C. So the left-hand work is fairly easy in here. We're starting out with our basic clawhammer bum ditty stroke, which sounds like this. So what we're doing here is we're attacking a melody note, which is the C string in our G major chord on beat 1, and then we're strumming through. This is called our brush stroke, and then we're finally playing the thumb. So our first 2 beats sound like this. It's melody, brush, thumb. Slow, quick, quick. 1, 2, and 1, 2, and try that with me. This rhythm is most of the tune. We're really just embellishing this throughout. So after we do our basic bum ditty stroke, we're going to lift up that first finger, play a C, and then hammer on. And then we're going to play just the note G, the 3rd fret of our E string. It's already down, right? And play the open G after that. So here's our first measure. So it's down, brush, thumb, C, hammer on. Let's listen to that first measure one more time and try it with me. 2, 3, 4. And then we're going down to our D7th chord, but in clawhammer, we're not going to use the G string when we fret chords. We're going to keep that open the whole time. So our D7th chord throughout most of this piece is just going to be open, open, 2, open, just the F sharp on our E string. And we're going to hit that and immediately go to our thumb. And again, go up to the 3rd fret of the E string, open A string. So it's all just 8th notes. So it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and right, try that with me, just the D7th bar. 2, 3, 4. Then we're resolving this to C, and we're going to use this C voicing throughout much of this, which is just on our inner strings, the C and E strings. We're going to play the 4th fret and the 3rd fret, like this. And this is really just a partial voicing for our bar chord C that we play some other times, but we don't need the G string too much here, or the A string, so we're just going to fret the inner strings. We're going to attack the E string, just our melody note on beat 1. And what I'm doing here to get my brush stroke is I'm just barring across the 3rd fret here, a partial bar, but I'm pressing down only on the E string so that my A string's muted, because I am accidentally going to hit it whenever I strum through. So if the string's muted, we don't have to worry about doing a smaller motion like this. This rhythm's the same as the first measure, but instead of doing a hammer-on beat 3, we're going to do a slide. So what we're going to do, slide on back, get this middle finger here, and we're going to hit the 3rd fret of our C string, and then slide right into the 4th. And then hit the E string open, so it sounds like this. So listen to this measure here with the C major chord. Let's try that together. 2, 3, 4. Then we come back to our G chord, and we're going to hit the C string much as we did before, but we're going to do that hammer-on thing that we did. So we're going to play an open C string, hammer on, so we have now our full G major chord, brush stroke, and then hit just the note G on the E string individually, brush stroke, thumb. So let's listen to the entire intro, and then we'll try it together with the band. It sounds like this. 2, 3, 4. So let's try those first 4 measures with the band. The verse and chorus of this song are the same exact structure with the same chords. So although we have the full arrangements written for you, I want you also to keep in the back of your mind that you can mix these puzzle pieces up. Any measure that we have that's a G major chord, you can insert elsewhere that there's a G major chord. Same with C, same with D7. So you can really easily make your own arrangement by just stealing the licks that we have on the page. Now, while we're playing through this, you want to keep in mind that we are accompanying a singer. Maybe it's yourself at this point, and you don't want your uke part to be too crazy and overshadow the singer. So we keep this rather basic as we're doing this. So we're starting on our G major chord, and we're going to do our basic bum ditty stroke. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and just do melody note, brush strum. All right, so it's going to be a G major chord. We're going to hit our C string, and then just lift up your ring finger so we have an E in there instead of our G. So our first measure sounds like this. Try that with me. First measure. 2, 3, 4. And we could play this G major for every single G major chord in the song. It would sound just fine. But let's look at the next one, because we want to have variations to go on. So we're still on our G major chord. We're going to start on the C string yet again, and then do our hammer on, just like we did in the introduction. So we're hammering on from an open C string to the 2nd fret of our C string. So note that the rhythm that we're playing with our right hand is identical in both of these measures. We're creating the rhythm with this hammer on here. So let's listen to those first 2 measures. Then we're going to a C chord, and this is just going to be our regular old C chord. We're going to do our melody note on the E string with a brush and a thumb. And then we're going to put a finger down. I tend to use my ring finger here to get the G on the 3rd fret of our E string. And then we're going to play 2 thumb strokes in a row. So we're going to go E string, thumb, A string, thumb. This is changing our rhythm a little bit. So let's listen to the C major chord here. Listen one more time, because this rhythm's a little bit different. And then we're going to that other C major voicing, one that looks like our bar chord, but it's just the inner strings. We're going to go E string, brush, thumb, C string, brush, thumb. And so let's listen to this whole first line, just the G and the C chords, see what it sounds like. 2, 3, 4. to C, other C, then we're right back to G here. And this measure should look familiar because we already played this. This is identical to measure 6 with our hammer on. And then we're doing our G again. We're going to hit the E string as our melody note, brush thumb, and then do what we did over top of the C chord, except it's now over top of a G chord. We have those 2 thumb strokes in a row. So we're going E string, thumb, A string, thumb. So let's listen to that measure. Measure 10. All right, let's listen to those 2 G major measures together. And then we're going to D7th. Remember, D7th for us is a nice 1-finger chord here. So we're going to do our open A string. And then instead of a brush stroke here like we've been doing on beat 2, we're going to do an individual note, just our E string. And that thumb in the same place we always do it. And here's our hammer-on lick again, just over top of this. Listen to this D7th measure. So that open E string in there, and then right back to our D7th. Let's listen to those 2 D7th measures together. And that's bringing us back to our G. So let's listen to these last 4 bars, and then we'll try the first 8 measures together with the band starting at measure 5. So the last 4 measures of this part of the A section sound like this. G, hammer on, still our G chord, D7. Good, let's try those first 8 measures of the A section with the band. The second half of our verse section is nearly identical to the first. We're starting out on that G, goes to C, then G, D7th, G. Again, our D7th is just going to be a little bit shorter this time. This is what's called a quick 5 chord. So we're starting out with the same exact lick. This should look familiar. This is the same as the beginning of the verse. To G6, open E, with our hammer on. We already know all of that. And then we're going to our C major chord. But this is going to be just a little bit different this time. So this is another C major lick that you can steal. We're going to hit the open C string, brush thumb, and then do our hammer-on lick on the C string, open to 2, brush thumb. So we hit. We're going to hit the E string open, brush thumb, and then we're bringing back that slide that we did in the introduction, 3 to 4 on our C string. And then just an individual melody note on the E and the thumb. So let's listen to these C major measures because there's a lot going on here. So it's C with open, hammer on, open E, brush thumb, slide. And then we're back to G. Landing on our G major chord, we're going to hit the E string as our melody. And then here, we're finally going to ignore our bum ditty lick for the first time in the song. We're going to just play quarter notes. So we have this 2 open in measure 17. Those are just going to be melody notes. No thumb on here. We're just going to go. Walking right on down, and this brings us to our D7th, our 1-finger D7th. We're hitting that F sharp on the 2nd fret of our E string. Brush, thumb, and then our hammer on lick. Back to D7, listen to that. And then we're going to resolve to G this time. So we don't stay on the D7th, it goes G. And note, these are all quarter notes. So whenever we see quarter notes and no eighth notes, we're going to take the thumb out and we're just going to use the back of our fingernails. And then at the very end of this measure, measure 20, we're going to do a melody note on the E string and thumb and A string and thumb. So let's listen to those G measures, getting us to the chorus. All right, let's listen to those measures very slowly, and then we'll try it together with the band. So we're starting at measure 13. 2, 3, 4. Let's try that together with the band.
When shall I see him? Oh, no, never till we meet in heaven above. Oh, bury me beneath.
As I mentioned previously, the chorus of the song has identical chords to the verse. So we really know the whole song already. We're just giving ourselves different variations that we can play. We're going to be doing a little counter melody to what Ashley is singing with the track. So we'll be starting on our G chord again, but we're going to do our melody note on the A string, and then brush thumb. And then we're going to do our same hammer-on that we did, but we were doing it down here. We're going to do it up here now. We're going to do it from the 2nd fret to the 3rd fret of our A string. So we get it. And then right back to our G. So that last little bit, we're lifting up the middle finger, just playing an open A as our melody note, brush thumb over top of our G major chord. So here's our first 2 measures of the chorus. We get going over to our C major voicing that we've been using. We get our hammer on again, and this time it's going to be on an inner string. It's going to be on our E strings. We're going to hammer on 3 to 5. And I use my ring finger for this. You can use your pinky as well. Whatever is comfortable for you is okay. Then we come right back down to the same note, the 3rd fret of our E string, C string. So rhythmically, we're just doing our little bum ditty, our 1, 2, and 3, 4, and the whole time in this first line. Let's listen to the first line of the chorus. It goes like this: 2, 3, 4. Back down to our G chord. We're going to do our bum ditty stroke, just walking on up our strings. So we go C, brush, thumb, E string, brush, thumb, A string, brush, thumb, and then our hammer on it. 2 to 3. Listen to those G major measures. And then we go to D7th here. Open A string, brush, thumb, then our hammer on the C string. Open to 2, brush, thumb. Listen to that first measure of the D7th chord, measure 27. Right back to that note right here. Then we have our little double thumbing thing again. So we're going to go 3rd fret of our E string to the thumb, open A string, thumb. So let's listen to that measure, measure 28. That's leading us right back to the G. So let's listen to these first 8 measures of the chorus, and then we'll try it together with the band. 2, 3, 4. Back to G on the C string, walking up, and our hammer on, and D7th. Let's try those first 8 measures of the chorus together with the band. The next 4 measures should look very familiar to you because they're the same as the first 4 measures of the chorus. So they sound like this. Walk it up, same as before. Remember, the D7th is going to be shorter the second time we come around to it, just as it is in the verse. So although we don't need the D7th on beat 1, we want to make sure we set it up so we're ready on beat 2 when we do this strum to have it there. So we're going to do a melody note on beat 1, hammering on to the 2nd fret. Then brush thumb, and then we're going to reverse that. We're going to hit the A string, which is now on the 2nd fret, right? And we're going to do a pull off and then brush thumb. So listen to this D7th measure. This can be a little bit tricky. So a hammer on, brush thumb, pull off. Right, let's try that together. Just the D7th measure, measure 34. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're resolving back to G. On the E string, we're going to hit our melody note, brush thumb, and then we have our hammer-on line that we already know. We're gonna hit a D7th right at the end here just to give us what's called a turnaround to knock us back to the top of the form. So we're really just adding two different measures than we have in the first half of the chorus for the second section. So we're ready to try this along with the band.
So he will know where I am sleeping again. Perhaps he'll weep for me. He told me that he...
After measure 36, we're going to repeat right back to measure 5, play the entire verse and chorus one more time for the second verse and chorus of the tune, and then we're going to head on to a little banjo break or a solo over top of this, and we're going to get to finally play the melody of the song. So we're going to need a new G chord as our melody note. Starting this is the D up on the 5th fret of our A string. So we're going to play open 7, 7, 5. It's our G chord. This is just like if you've ever played this G chord up here or this one up here, this bar chord one. This is based off of that. So we're going to play the A string melody. Most of this is going to be on the A string. Brush thumb. And then we're going to hammer on to the 7th fret. So we're going to play the 5th fret, hammer on to the 7th fret, brush thumb. All right, so let's listen to this first measure of the solo, our first little melodic bit. And what happens in that second measure? Well, we go back down to that 5th fret, right? And then we're going to play our next melody note, which is the B, which is already down for us. Although we could come down here to grab it. If it's already in the chord, why should we move if we don't need to? So on the E string, brush thumb. Here are the first two measures of the solo. Then we're coming on down to our C major voicing we've been using throughout. There's inner strings. We're going to hit the 3rd fret of our E string. We have our hammer on, just like we did in the chorus. You know this part, right? And then we're going to add our slide in. Another piece of the puzzle that we've already done before. We're just placing it in a different place. We have that slide from 3 to 4 on the C string. And then going up to the E string and our thumb. So let's listen to those C major measures here. And slide. Going back to G. We've already played that before in the chorus, right? C string, brush, thumb, E string, brush, thumb. And then we're going to start on the A string, open, and then hammer it onto the 2nd fret. And walk down the 3rd fret and the 2nd fret. These are quarter notes, so it's going to sound like this in measure 42. All right, let's listen to 41 and 42 together. And then we're at our D7th chord. That's really our last melody note for this first bit of the solo is the open A, and then everything else here is just filler. So we're going to fill it up because this is our time that we can do some of the fancy stuff and fill up all the space. We're going to do a bunch of hammer-ons going across the strings here. So play our open A, brush thumb, hammer on open to 2 on the C string, brush thumb, and then open to 2 on the E string. Brush thumb, and then open to 2 on the A string. So let's listen to that D7th bar with just these little fill-in notes here. So we get. So our D7th lick getting us to the second half of the chorus. But let's look at this whole solo section, just the first half of it before we try it with the band. It sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Try those first 8 measures of the solo with the band. The second half of the solo should look very familiar because it shares a lot with the first half. We're starting in the same place up on this G major voicing. First measure's the same because our melody's the same. We're just going to walk it down to the C a little bit differently. We're going to do a double thumb on here. So we're going to add the 7th fret of our E string and then the 5th fret of our E string, landing on that C major voicing we've been doing. So let's listen to those G major measures here. We know this. That's our only difference, or the last 2 notes here. Instead of using our thumb on the G string, we're just going to walk it down 4th fret, 3rd fret. So let's listen to the C major bars. Coming down to G to round it out, we're going to start on our G chord, but we're going to play an open C first and then hammer on as we've been doing throughout this entire piece. Brush thumb, E string, brush thumb. Over to our D7th now. A string, hammer it on the 2nd fret. And then resolving to our G. We know that hammer on and our D7th at the end. We've seen these measures before. So the back half of this solo is mostly things that we have already seen, just pieced together in a slightly different way. Let's listen to these last 8 measures and then we'll try it with the band. 1, 2, 3, 4. D7th, hammer on, there's our G. Let's try that with the band. At the end of the solo, it says DS al coda, which means go back to the sign until we see the coda. The sign is at measure 5, which is the beginning of our verse, and what we're going to do is play through the verse and chorus till we get to the end of measure 34. That's where our coda sign is, and we're going to jump on down to measure 53, which is just our little outro to end the tune. And we're going to be starting out on that G voicing up here that we used in the solo. These 2 measures should look very familiar. This is just part of the solo. Walking down to the C, and we can see that it says retardando right above that, which means we're going to start to slow down here, get out of time. We know that part as well. That's just our C major lick over top of the solo part with our hammer on. And then we're going to go down finally to a D chord, and this one's going to be our one that's just a little bit different. We're going to start on an open 2, open, open, and we're going to hit those middle strings, and we're going to hammer on to the 2nd fret, giving us this D shape. There's open 2, 2, open. Brush thumb. And then we're just going to strum that very last G chord. So let's listen to the outro. It goes like this. 2, 3, 4. Slow it down. Now let's try that little outro with the band.
Perhaps you'll read for me.
Alright guys, so this week's ukulele lesson was a ton of fun. This is a gorgeous tune and a lot of fun to play in this ensemble setting. So I do want to give you a friendly reminder that if you did want to get the tabs to print off and keep for your records, that was available at this link right here. Or you can go to the site, rockclass101.com, do a search for Bury Me Beneath the Willow. Now also on that page was the really cool interactive on-screen tab viewer, so you can literally hit play, watch that tab scroll across in real time, highlight bars, loop sections, slow it down, all that fun jazz. And last but not least were the backing tracks. So once you learn the ukulele part, you can rock out with the band at home. So guys, again, I hope you enjoyed this lesson and we'll catch you in the next one. Take care.